Dear friends, today we are celebrating the National Day for the Biosphere Reserve. And a little bit I'd like to say you about the Biosphere Reserve. Biosphere Reserve, as the name indicates, bio, sphere, and reserve. It's a designated area to promote a balanced relationship between the human and their environment. Of course, by conserving biodiversity, fostering sustainable development, and supporting the scientific research also. So UNESCO has started to recognize this particular program, Man and Biosphere Program. According to UNESCO, these reserves are the live laboratories where the innovative approaches of conservation and development can be done, can be tested, can be refined. So if you see about the Biosphere Reserve, it is having few very interesting zones. Like in the center, it is having a core area, which is a strictly protected area. This area has long landscapes, ecosystem, and it's having a lot of spaces, but there is no human interaction. The second is the buffer zone. Buffer zone is the next area after the core area. It surrounds the core area and it permits the limited activities. When we say limited activities, the meaning is that it is open for environmental education, it is open for research, and it is also open for the eco-friendly tourism. And the third is the outer area, outermost area, where the sustainable resource management practices are encouraged and it has a lot of interaction with the local communities, local business, etc., etc. So these three zones together, that is the central core zone, buffer zone, and transition zone, together make a biosphere reserve. You can very well imagine that when we are saying about the outer zone, that is the transition zone, where the local communities and business are also flourished. There is a lot of interaction. What can happen to uh, the animals and the plants inside? But anyhow, number of biosphere reserves are there. Like the famous is Amazon rainforest, and in India, famous is Sundarban, and we are lucky to have with us Dr. Sabyasachi Majumdar, who is an expert in Sundarban area. He has done extensive research on various aspects of Sundarban. And he has been in the teaching profession for a long time. For more than 3 decades, he won the teaching profession. He is a national awardee. He has got national award for the teachers. And he is the president of the GIST India. And presently, he is associated with ADMAS group of schools. And there he is working as a joint director. So, joint director academics. Besides this, he has extensively traveled throughout the world discussing many things on the environment. So he is our regular contributor. So I request Sabyasachi Majumdar ji to please tell us something about the Biosphere Reserve and to celebrate this particular day in a befitting way. Dr. Sabyasachi Majumdar, please.
Thank you, sir, for your kind introduction. And it's not new. I am already a familiar face in this group. And Actually, today being a Bhai Dooj, maybe there is less number of participants. Quite evident. Diwali time, festive time, all are in different activities. But since this is an international day, so we should contribute something in this forum, as because five of us are here. And so we can discuss something about this biosphere reserves, as Sir has already told about the donation of the Biosphere Reserve. So we'll say a little bit of how the Man and Biosphere program was initiated, and what are the different types of biosphere reserves, uh, how this management, what are the priorities in management, and as rightly told that this is the living laboratories. So naturally, there are equal importance of biodiversity as well as the other stakeholders while management practices are going on, and how biosphere reserves are being given to a particular spot site. Let's discuss, and we have a bit case study on the Indian Sundarbans regarding this donation and biosphere reserve concept. So without much delay, we can continue with that. Let's start with that. Is it visible, sir?
Yes, sir, we can see you.
Uh, Slide change is visible.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, okay, okay. So let's start. So, as Sir has rightly told that it has been launched by UNESCO in 1971 under the auspicious Man and Biosphere Program. It's an intergovernmental scientific program, and the main motto was to improve the relationship between the people and the environment, as because as we all know that for the for the benefit of people, for the sustenance of people, development is a must. And while doing development, we are always hindering the environmental phenomena and environment, so that we need a balance. And how this balance, UNESCO also think of that how best we can have a harmonious relationship between the development, human development, and the environment. And accordingly, they have started this Man and Biosphere program. But one thing is very important, that the whole thing is scientifically biased. So the whole concept is loaded with science, and also the social science, while we are encouraging people's participation in this thing. So uh, as I've told you that this is part of the natural and cultural landscapes or seascapes extending over large areas of terrestrial or marine ecosystem or coastal zone ecosystem. So we need to have a balance between the economic and the social development on one hand, socio-cultural aspects, as well as on the on the biodiversity on the other hand. So cultural diversity, biodiversity, conservation of this, along with the participation of of the people, so that human and nature coexist, was the motto of these biosphere reserves, as they are saying it, science for sustainability support sites. So it was introduced, as I've told you, in 1971. At present, there are 59 countries and reserves, 139 countries and 25 biosphere sites are there. And in India, we have 18 such biosphere reserves, including the famous Indian Sundarbans, which is also a biosphere reserve. So for the advancement of well-being of human being and nature, it has been introduced, and it is benefiting people as well as the environment. And so the local community must have clear understanding. So why to create a biosphere reserve? and how they can utilize the Biosphere Reserve in their day-to-day life for their benefit. That was the main approach of UNESCO while formulating Biosphere Reserve. So, in the management of this Biosphere Reserve, not only though it is scientifically uh, formulated, but the local state stakeholder play a very pivotal role. They can suggest, they have to take part, they can suggest, and their roles should not be neglected. Their traditional knowledge and wisdom, their experience must be taken care while conservation is in the forefront. So that's what exactly was doing in a way, and nowadays it is uh, being managed by a world network of biosphere reserves, and obviously flexibility is a very key important factor. Though it is based on science, but in order to accommodate the interest of the local people, flexibility is a very important aspects of this biosphere reserve concept. And time to time there are what we call it a preview. After each 10 years, the working body wants to monitor the aspects of biosphere reserves, and even they can give warning that these are the things where the motto is not being fulfilled, and we need to take care of that. Yeah, even after repeated uh, warning, if it is not being done, UNESCO can just eliminate that particular biosphere reserves. Likewise, the stakeholder also can come out of the biosphere. They can apply that their interest is not being properly being carried out through this biosphere reserve concept, so they can even opt out of the biosphere reserve in a particular area. Even even sometimes it may happen that they can propose for the change of name of the biosphere reserves if that is needed. So, as I've told you, that the SAR has rightly told that there is a core area for which the reserve is primarily for the conservation purpose, that is the flora, fauna, natural conservation, and followed up by the biogeographical unit, in which it is being, say, for example, Sundarbans, the mangrove is a very important biogeographical unit, and the involvement of the local community for Sundarbans. The local people are the local community, local stakeholders, and even indigenous community, tribals, if they exist in that area, that can be included in this concept. So, as I've told you, there are 759 biosphere reserve as on today, spanning around 136 countries, and there are around 25 transboundary biosphere reserve sites. Transboundary means the reserve is occupied in both the zones. In those cases, you know what happened. We can have various way. Either initially there can be two separate biosphere reserves in the adjacent countries, and followed by a single reserve, or it may be happen that both the country can jointly approach to UNESCO for a biosphere reserve. Both can be done, both is happening, both is existing in this scenario. In India, we have that 18 biosphere reserve as on today. That is cold desert of Himachal Pradesh, Nanda Devi, Kanchenjunga, the Arunachal Pradesh, Manas, Dibru, and likewise Nilgiri is one of the major one, Kutch of Gujarat, Simlipal, Odisha, Sundarbans, West Bengal, Gulf of Mannar, Great Nicobar Island, and Andaman and Nicobar Island. One thing is very clear, that not necessarily this should be having very prominent heritage. Say for declaration of World Heritage Site, we have different criteria. But for here, we must have a landscape or a seascapes with nature exists, where flora and fauna are important part that needs conservation, as well as the surrounding people community can also be a part of the management and can take part in the conservation process, and not, at the other hand, can be beneficial from this geographical area. So that's the concept here, not necessarily only this one. So as Sarah has rightly told, there are the three zones. You can see the innermost zone, that is the core area, the surrounding by an internal the buffer zone, which is protecting the core area, and at the outer part, peripheral area, we have this transition zone or zone of manipulation. You can see the human settlements. These are very much, they are in the outer zone. And research stations are there in the outer zone. Monitoring is only there in the inside area, core area. Regular monitoring is being carried out to know the health of the area, health of the ecosystem. Education and training can be carried out in the buffer zone. And also human settlement and activities are there in the transitional zone. Some sort of eco-friendly human activities are carried out also in the buffer zone. And as well as that includes ecotourism, that includes educational activities, that includes scientific research, and that also includes sustainable utilization of resources by the local people, including fishery, crabs, etc., honey. Those are the things that can be judiciously and sustainably that can be exploited. Am I audible, sir? Is it audible
Yes,
to you?
yes, yes, very
Okay,
much.
okay. So as I've told you, there are core areas. Sir has told that it is a legally constituted area for the long-term protection of flora and fauna. That means biodiversity is the priority in this zone, and as a result, beside monitoring, no other human activities are usually allowed in this zone. Okay, so the conservation of biodiversity, both species diversity, ecosystem diversity, and genetic diversity, all three tiers of diversities are carried out here. And the focus obviously is concentrating on biodiversity and the local ecosystem. So though in majority of the areas these are not being allowed for human being, but in certain countries very sustainable ecotourism are allowed rather, but in majority of the countries it is not being allowed. But monitoring is a very pivotal role in this area to know the exact changes over the time, and accordingly, depending upon this monitoring, we can do that. We can go for the management practices. And it is followed by buffer zone. As I've told you, buffer zone is meant for buffering the protecting the core areas with the conservation mindset in mind. So this area restricted human activities are allowed, scientific activities are allowed, educational activities are allowed, research activities are allowed, even eco-friendly livelihood activities are also allowed. So management must ensure that human activities in the buffer zone are sustainable and compatible, so that it cannot destroy the biodiversity. That is the main thing. And the outer area, most important in terms of biosphere reserve concept, that is a transitional zone or zone of manipulation. Here, human settlements are allowed, their cropland, agricultural practice, manage other even industries and other things are allowed, provided they are not being a harm for the core zone or the buffer zone, mostly the core zone, the biodiversity and the ecosystem. So transition zone is like that. So human activities include settlements, agriculture, livestock, breeding, tourism, industry, etc., etc. So there is no legal restriction here. And these areas are the most vulnerable areas. Since there are no legal restrictions and activities are allowed, very often this is being misused, and that magnitude of misuse can well lead to the vulnerability of the nearby core areas and as a biosphere reserve as a whole. So as I've told you that it is a site appropriate for the for functioning three aspects. That is one on the one aspects. So the size is not fixed. It can be as small as 764 hectare, as in case of Sambadia Biosphere Reserve in Senegal, and can be as large as Mata Atlantica Biosphere Reserve in Brazil, which is over 89.686749 hectare. So it can be of anything. Size is not an important factor. The most important factor is the whether they sustain biodiversity and natural ecosystem or landscape or seascape, and whether those are being occupied, surrounded by human settlement, and if the human settlement are really needed sustainability so that the adjacent ecosystem and the biodiversity can be saved. So as I've told you, the three functions or activities are very important. Number one, the conservation function, managing biosphere genetic, as I've told you, biodiversity, genetic diversity, species diversity, and ecosystem diversity, landscape or seascape diversity that must be conserved. Man-animal conflicts are very common because there are adjacent human areas that can be tackled, and moreover, the cultural aspects of the indigenous people must be conserved. And in terms of developing activities, economic and human growth in a sustainable manner is the key feature here. So that is very important. So how best we can make development without in a sustainable manner, and for the betterment of this area, logistic support including monitoring facilities, research facilities, educational training, with the help of local institutes, maybe school, college, universities, NGOs, that is very important here. Biosphere Reserve as such don't promote individual institutes, rather they promote cooperation among the existing institute of that area. Okay, and all these three activities must be integrated. Not that we are only having, say, 90% importance on conservation, 40% in 60% importance on conservation, 10% on logistic support, and 30% on development. No, there must be an harmonious equity between these three functions for a holistic approach. That is most important, so that all the stakeholders' needs are being addressed. So management plan must be formulated and executed in such a manner that conservation, development, and logistic support are given equal benefit, and this interaction between the three will be in such a way that at the end of the day, everybody is benefited and the concept of biosphere reserve is successful. As I've told you, carefully adapted high quality scientific evidence. At the very beginning, I've told science is the major fulcrum of this biosphere reserve, and science must be scaffolded by the traditional wisdom and knowledge, and these two can make the things more important and more beautiful. So monitoring is also very important to know the health. Regular basis it is being done, and at each 10 years the world body will take care of the stock taking activities. So for nomination process, what is being done, a particular area local body should approach the Man and Biosphere Committee of the country. So a member state may approach National Man and Biosphere Committee and with a proposal, and that Man and Biosphere Committee will submit it to the UNESCO and UNESCO having its own research committee. They will accredit the whole thing, evaluate the whole thing, and then it will be sent to reviewer. And after reviewing, careful reviewing, they may even give it some, if the loopholes are there, they may ask for additional to just minimize those loopholes. And finally, after resubmission, it is being endorsed. That's how a biosphere reserve is nominated. In case of transboundary biosphere reserve, we can have a joint committee from the adjacent countries, and by that way, it can be done. Say as in case of this. So, as I've told you, a transboundary reserve can be established as two or more separate biosphere reserve, as in the case of Sundarbans. Indian Biosphere Reserve, in Sundarban Biosphere Reserve, Bangladesh Sundarban Biosphere Reserves. Or can both the countries can jointly approach for the nomination. Now, the multiple designated sites are often being there in an area that it was taken care, that it is being taken care in such a way that no such multiple designation can hamper the activity of the biosphere reserve. Say, for example, one area can be a biosphere reserve, that area can be a World Heritage Site, that area can also be a global geopark or global geo area, or even a Ramsar site of wetland, important international wetlands. But the conflict doesn't arise because there is a group of at the headquarters which deal over each of these issues, so that no conflict arise, conflict of interests are there. Everybody goes for a common interest with a different modus operandi. So in case of Indian Sundarban is a World Heritage Site. It is also a Biosphere Reserve, and it's also a Ramsar site. So basically it is a multi-designated site, but it is not being hampered. And the governance, as I've told you, governance is first and foremost is it is based on science. It is flexible, democratic, and include all the interest of all the stakeholders and government authorities, entrepreneur, non-governmental organizations, civil citizen forum. Everybody can contribute for the betterment of biosphere reserve. Review process is done, and after each 10 years, and that is based on different criteria that I have already discussed, that they will see whether the biodiversity are in sustainable utilization is maintained, biogeographic areas are there, that is being maintained, whether the buffer zone is actually protecting, there is less infringement of within the core area, how the human or the people is also getting benefit. All these things are monitored and periodically after each 10 years, and also on an annual basis by the local body. And finally, they can suggest for some improvement or advancement in time to time. So Sundarban Biosphere Reserve is in West Bengal, and it is under Man and Biosphere program, and the third largest in terms of area in India. It is in West Bengal in 24 Parganas, south and north, mostly in south. And on the western side, it is guided by Muriganga River, the Hooghly River, and on the eastern side by the Raimangal River, that is in the Bangladesh boundary. It's most important because of these. It's the only mangrove with a tiger infested. So Panthera tigris, the Royal Bengal tiger, is the habitat here. So that is one part of the core zone is meant for. So it's around 9630 square kilometer, and it's divided into core, buffer, and transition zone. And the biosphere reserve is about 4263 square kilometer. And there are a lot of sanctuaries within this biosphere reserve, including the Tiger Reserve, Sundarban National Park, Sajne Kali Wildlife Sanctuary, Lothian Island Wildlife Sanctuary, Halliday Island Wildlife Sanctuary, even Bhagavatpur Crocodile Sanctuary. All these are there. So if you can see the Sundarbans, you can see this is the area. This green part you see, these are the core zone, and this is the buffering zone, the light green part. And beside that, this is the area where human settlement is absolutely going on, including those gram panchayats and all these things are there. And around 108 islands are there in Indian Sundarban, of which 54 are inhabited by human being, and the rest 54 are being virgin. So the core area is this part, this extreme areas. This is the Bay of Bengal, and you see this area, and this is the total Sundarban, the Bangladesh Sundarban, which is the largest one, which 2/3 area of the Bangladesh Sundarban, and India Sundarban 1/3 area. So this is a satellite map. You can see all these areas of the Indian Sundarbans, okay, including the Sagar Island, where the famous Ganga Sagar Mela is going on. And so this is this Bangladesh Sundarban. You can see these are the riverine, rivulet, Ganga, Brahmaputra, and Meghna. These three rivers togetherly forms this delta and the estuary. These are all estuarine zones. And because of this climate change, these are again real threats are there. So if you really go through the governance, you can see that mainly this federal Project Tiger is controlled by the central government. There are principal secretary in the Ministry of Environment and Forest, and that under that we have principal chief conservator of forest and director of Sundarban Biosphere Reserve, under which we have chief conservator of forest, field directors, and even range officer and beat officers. And in the Sundarban Reserve Wildlife Sanctuary and Reserve Forest, we have regional level management, also state government level, Department of Forest, West Bengal government, state minister, principal secretary, conservation of forest, and joint director. And here you can see after that, after joint director, we can have the deputy field directors, deputy field director, assistant field directors, range officer, and beat officer. That's how the division of labor is being carried out to manage this whole important Sundarban party. So here you can see a glimpse of the Sundarbans. You can see this is in a low tide zone, low tide time. This is under semi-diurnal tidal condition. That means for each 6 hours, 25 minutes, there are high tide when the water from the ocean visited these estuaries, and you can see these areas, these white areas up to these all are being inundated with water. And during the next 6 hours and 25 minutes, gradually this will be exposed. You will get mud flats and different types of mangroves. You can see the respiratory roots of the Abyssinia group of mangroves, which are the first group present in the area. Here you can see another different mangrove which with dagger-like respiratory roads. These are called pneumatophores, and this pneumatophore helps in their breathing. And different types of roots are there in different group of plants. There are Abyssinia, there are Exocaria, there are Sonaraceae, there are Bruguera, there are Rhizophora, there are the famous Sundari, all having different types of vegetation. So these are mangroves, and mangroves needs to be protected. So the core zone and the Biosphere Reserve was formed to protect this landscape, this seascape, the mangrove scape from human anthropogenic stresses, as well as from other changes of climate change and other things. So that's beside this mangroves, different types of mangroves will show flora. This is the habitat of, this is the nursery for fishes, the marine fishes. This is the nursery because the leaf gets degraded and they pumped in organic matters, and those are called detritus. And though that's because the marine fishes are coming into this area, get nurtured by this food, and goes, and that's why is behaving as a nursery. Here you can see another group of, these are the palm trees of Sundarbans mangroves. You see the tiger is mimicking with the color of the palm tree. These are the Phoenix peludosa. These are present in the upper elevated part of Sundarbans. Here you can see the jungle cat. These are also visible. All these are very rare animals. Here you can see this Nipa palm, another group of palm, Nipa fruticans. These are present only in areas where there is less saline because of increase in salinity of due to climate change and introduction of Farakka barrage. These Nipa palm are almost not present in Sundarban nowadays. As because these areas are blue carbon ecosystem. That means these mangroves, along with the mangroves mud, they can trap carbon dioxide, the greenhouse gas. And the mangrove mud has 10 times more power of trapping carbon dioxide than the traditional forest. So once we are cutting mangrove, what we are doing, we are not only dividing the mangroves to capture carbon dioxide for photosynthesis, but also we are releasing the carbon dioxide already trapped in the sediments over the year. So all this needs conservation. This is one reason why this is being declared as a biosphere reserve. So here you see that same mudflat during high tide. So during each there is two high tide, two low tide. So the life is very hostile here. Here you see another group, that is Rhizophora, and the viviparous germination can also be visible because the seeds are germinated in the tree itself before it falls into the mud and gets struck there. If it is not being like that, then the seeds would have been washed away by the tides and the currents. And beside these, the core zone, we have different types of birds, kingfishers, plovers, sandpipers, the owls, various different types of birds are there. So that's one important thing. As you have seen, different types of adaptation, these dagger-like pneumatophore, these are the salt gland which exude out the salts. So these are various things. There are other types of fauna. The deer, axis, and the monkey, rhesus monkey, different types of poisonous snakes, the otters, the wild boars, Suscrofa, wild boar. Then we have this Sundari tree. This is this famous Sundari tree with stumpy root pneumatophores, you can see, and root buttresses. Then we have these. So these are the things for what there are otters, or there are wild baranas, that means monitors, water monitors. Then there are different types of invertebrate groups, marine mollusks, different types of fishes. These are all these things, and with such a huge number of mangroves, that's why it is needed for conservation purpose. That is the core zone. Mostly in buffered areas also we get mangroves, and in the transition zone also we get mangroves. But we are going for sustainable utilization in this transition zone. These because, as I've told you, that only not for it is not only meant for the biodiversity. It is like crocodiles, saltwater crocodiles are also there. It is also meant for human development activities must be there. So you see this transport is very hazardous. There are mostly by boats and motorboats. Even you see for bricks, for making house, you have to carry bricks through river system only. Here you see for going office or other activities, you are using boat. So life is very hazardous here. And this is here where this type of launches are operating for taking tourists or for scientific activities. So So these are also horseshoe crabs. These are also present in Sundarbans, these living fossils. So this needs to be conservation. Conservation is very much important for this zone. Mudskipper is there. And for that purpose, as sir has told you, educational activities, scientific research are going on. University, college, and school students are always there. And scientists from different scientific organizations are also visiting regularly for monitoring of activities, the mangroves, the physiochemical activities, the effect of climate change, all these things are going on, and that must be promoted. So this is mostly in the core zone. We are getting this. Here you see even school students are also being interested of making projects or having scientific research or monitoring in this area. These trawlers, these are also being operating here. These are also need to be used in sustainable
Excuse me,
manner.
sir. Excuse me.
Huh.
Are you
Hmm.
showing any slide?
It's not visible.
No, no, it's not visible. We cannot see any slide.
How long?
Since beginning, we cannot see any slide.
Oh my God. That's what I'm telling you. Is it now visible?
No.
No. Oh. Okay, let's see. Is it visible now?
Now it is visible.
Oh my God.
Now you can see.
Wait a bit, sir. So sorry. Is it visible, sir?
Uh,
Man and Biosphere
yes,
Program.
yes, 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 yes. Yes, visible. We
Okay,
can see.
so here you see that Biosphere 759 and 25 Biosphere Reserve. This is the core zone. This is the visible now.
Yes.
This is the core zone, this is the buffer zone, this is the zone of transition. So core zone is entirely for biodiversity or ecosystem. This buffer zone is protecting the core zone with limited educational activities, scientific activities, ecotourism, and these are the zone for human settlement totally. So those what I have told so far. Oh my goodness. So here you see how nomination process is given. State level bodies can apply to the Indian government. They can suggest it for UNESCO. UNESCO can have their own committee. They can go through it and can suggest some modification. After modification, it is being reviewed and finally being selected. And in case of transboundary, if the biosphere reserve falls in adjacent countries, then separate reserve can be there in two countries, like in Sundarbans, Indian Sundarban Biosphere Reserve, Bangladesh Sundarban Biosphere Reserve, or both the country can join hand in hand to go for a biosphere reserve. And there are multiple designated sites. Say a particular site is a biosphere reserve, it is also a Ramsar site, it may also be a World Heritage site. In that case, the different bodies will sit together to minimize the management of conflicts for the betterment of the purpose. And this is the Indian Sundarbans, and you can see that this part is the core area. This green part, this is the buffer zone to protect the core area where we have the activities, and these are exclusively areas where human settlements are there, including local self-governance. So out of 108 islands, 54 islands are within these areas, yellow part, where human settlements are there. and the remaining 54 are within this core and the buffer zone. And here you see this part, up to this part, this is the Indian Sundarbans, and this part is the Bangladesh Sundarban. Totally, we have 2/3 part in Bangladesh, 1/3 part in India. And this is the satellite map of the Indian Sundarbans. You can see the different rivers, Saptamukhi, Batla, Thakuran, Raimangal. Up to this Raimangal river, it is in Indian Sundarbans. After that, there is the Bangladesh, and this is a joint tributaries of Ganga, Brahmaputra, and Meghna river. Here is the total Bangladesh parts. And I've told you in the management part that it is under global part, transboundary part is locally is managed globally. The Project Tiger is under government of India. They have their own ministry, they have their minister, they have the principal secretary, additional principal secretary, chief conservator of forest, and tiger reserve director. Likewise, we have World Wildlife Sanctuary under West Bengal government, that is the state or regional management part, Department of Forest, State Forest Minister, Principal Secretary, Conservation of Forest, Joint Director. And under this, there are field directors, deputy field directors, assistant field directors, range officers, and beat officers. These are who are managing the whole system in a systematic manner. So here is that area, what I have told you, that this is under low tide. You can see there are 2 high tides and 2 low tides. During low tides, these are mud flats are exposed. And during the high tide, you will find that the mud flat is over, and even half of this vegetation is covered by water. So this is a very dynamic area, and different types of, here you see pencil-like pneumatophores are there, the breathing roots. Here you can see these are the dagger-like pneumatophores. So each group of mangroves have different types of pneumatophores. Here you see the palm of Sundarban, mangrove palm, Phoenix peludosa, where tigers are very often mimicking themselves. These are in the upper zone of the area. Fishing cats are there. Nipa palm, this is another group of palm which usually need sweet water. So because of climate change, the salinity is increasing. As a result, these are disappearing from Indian Sundarbans. It is also very important for carbon sequestration purpose. So the upper part, the underground part, and the sediments itself sequesters a huge amount of carbon. So we need protection of this important flora. That's why this conservation part is equal. Here you see that same area, mudflat is now inundated. Another important group is the Rhizophora group with their stilt root and viviparous germination, where the seeds are germinated in the tree itself before being gets out. Long group of birds are there, the kingfisher, the plover, the sandpipers, the owls, the stork, the many other groups are there. So these are the different types of mangroves with salt glands. They exude salts. Different types of fauna. We have the axis, the chital harin, the rhesus monkey, different types of snakes, including all the 4 venomous group, otters, Saskrofa, that is the wild boar, all are there. This is the famous Sundari with its characteristic root system. The transport here is very difficult. They have to travel through boats mostly, and even for bringing out other materials, this is the bricks are being carried out even through boats. So even for going to hospitals, going to things, so this part also needs to be taken care of, because we are talking about human development also. The famous saltwater crocodile, this is also very much there. The horseshoe crabs, these are also visible here. The mud skipper, they are also visible here. So all this makes this an area for core zone. Core zone is meant for biodiversity, meant for ecosystem diversity, genetic diversity. And in the buffer zone, we have these scientific things, are educational purpose, science purpose, all these things are carried out without disturbing the ecosystem. University, college, school students take part in these things. You can see school students are also part of this program. These are the local people with indigenous knowledge. So these things they are going on. These are the boats for crabs and small fishes, and these are prawn seed collection by the woman being. These are crab boats. So all these are very hazardous. They are tiger infested areas, and these people are taking risk of their life for the sake of their livelihood. Though they are not being permitted to enter the core zone, but for the sake of their livelihood, they often have to enter the core zone. Here you see the honey in Sundarban is very famous, and the honey catcher collectors went to the mangroves for their collection purpose. And also being, you see here, they are wearing mask on the back side so that the tiger generally attack them from the back, so that to prevent tiger attack, they are doing those things, but often being catch hold. Here you see another important things. Many people dies of tiger attack, and the widows are very common in Sundarban, and that needs so cultural rehabilitation. Even they have Sundarban Tiger Widow Welfare Society, and government also take care of this. So these part are human part. That is the transitional zone, the biosphere, other part of the biosphere. We have the tourist part. There are tourist lodges, and this famous tiger is there. They are always being there. Is the man-human conflict, as because human are penetrating their zone, often they come into our zone. And there are a lot of human tiger attack that is taken care. That is one of the aspects Biosphere Reserve is doing. Even sometimes tigers are being caught hold from the villages, tranquilized, and then released into the wilderness. And this all the part of the islands are mud banks, mud and embankment. So during these cyclone times, Ayla, Amphan, Ias, Dana, every time there is a breakage of this island, then the people are suffering a lot. So these things need to be taken care, and they are taken care during the biosphere reserves. Various ways the local men try to protect their embankment. This is the famous wild, this monitor lizard, Varanus. And these are another area, climate refugees, because of these, the majority of the island in the western side are gradually being lost to the sea. And as a result, a lot of people are becoming homeless and becoming climate refugees. So here you can see these blue areas are the areas where islands are lost. So a lot of areas are lost that needs to be taken care in the preview meeting of Biosphere Reserve. So Biosphere Reserve, I've given a case study, and we have gone, so we might get a brief account how biodiversity and the human are joining hand in hand to protect a very important ecosystem. And buffering it and sustainable utilization is the need of the day in Biosphere Reserve concept. So flexibility is there, science is also there, human interest is taken care of, and human participation is very much important. Thank you. And now it's open for question. If you have any question, I can ready to take those things or discuss. Thank you, sir. So you are muted. You are muted. You are muted, sir.
Professor Rajwal is there? Okay, I think he has left. So anybody who want to ask any question? So what I have read and what I have seen is that It was a wonderful talk. Initially, because of the PPT, we were not very clear about the things, but later on, things become very clear. Uh, that Dr. Majumdar has said about the interaction between the locals and animals, then their harmonial relationship. Then he talk about the excellent management for conservation, and then one thing I really enjoyed is that the science with traditional wisdom and knowledge, and each 10 years world body to take care of the progress what they are doing, and conflict management is another area where uh, a lot of work has to be done, and the functioning is very flexible.
Man tiger conflict, man snake conflict, and man crocodile conflict. These are the three conflict zones
Conflict
here in Sundarbans.
actually these tiger, it may be tiger, it may be crocodile, uh, they are encroaching uh, in our areas, thinking because they think that is their area.
They are areas.
So it is very interesting, and it is not only there. We have seen everywhere that where we are plotting colonies and making a lot of construction, the elephants are coming and they are restricting it because it was the elephant area actually. Now it is inhabiting by the people. So the functioning should be flexible, democratic, and interest of all the stakeholders. And he has also said why there is a decline in the biosphere reserve. So it was very interesting. I have thoroughly enjoyed the session. Thank you very much. And I really thank all the uh, participants, all our teachers. In spite of a festive day, they are with us for 1 hour. And it is actually a great day that we are celebrating International Day for Biosphere Reserve. And I was thinking that more children should join us, but unfortunately, it was holiday. The children are not there
We
because
can make it in another day for the children also.
Biosphere Reserve is one area where all like-minded people should think. Because uh, if you remember, I mean 3 4 days back, 20 elephants were killed in Madhya Pradesh. So that is a very interesting case, and the SIT is being deputed by the government, and the people who are there, they are saying that they are dead because of poisoning. So anyhow, the later you will came to know what happened, but it is a, I mean, grave concern that 20 elephants are died in 3 days. So at this time, when we are celebrating International Day for Biosphere Reserve, I wish all of you a happy day and hope that you will take some very good takeaway from this session. Thank you very much, Dr. Savesachi Mudhanar. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
sir. Thank you, sir. It's always a pleasure for me in this platform. Thank you,
And
and
thank you all for
I,
joining
I,
us.
yes, I also
Thank you.
personally thank all of them. Thank you.
So thank you, sir. And thank you all the teachers. God bless you. Enjoy the day.